The body of all state governors in Nigeria is known as the Nigerian Governors Forum, or NGF, is one formidable bulwark in the country's political scheme of things. And the Governors Forum also constitutes a very powerful body known as the National Economic Council, or NEC. So how can these two political and economic powerhouses be positioned to deliver on Nigeria's very slippery socio-economic development? Let's mix politics with business now as we turn to Sumner Sambo, Arise Political Editor from our Abuja studios. A good evening to you, Sumner. Let's hit the ground running. Briefly outline why the Nigerian Governors Forum, or NGF, was created and what purpose was it meant to serve in the Nigeria's socio-economic calculus.
Good evening to our viewers. The Nigerian Governors Forum was actually formed at the birth of the Fourth Republic to help strengthen capacity building within governors and to help that group actually spearhead some sort of reforms that will help the country alongside forming a club, an elite club of governors actually that will help in looking at issues critically from their own perspective as to how they could help drive economic reforms, how they could help push some political reforms, and how they could help protect themselves from any president that may want to spearhead reforms that may not necessarily be acceptable to the state governors. And then at a point in time, between 1999 and 2008, they were practically inactive due to the politics of that period. But from 2009, when we had the likes of Bukola Saraki actually heading the Nigerian Governors Forum, sometime from 2007 to 2008, it wasn't so strong with him there. But from 2009, Saraki actually gave this body a very strong support and a very strong opening to be able to fight national policies that are not favorable to the state, and then to also prepare an agenda that will help to drive governance among subnationals. And I can tell you that happened because we seem to actually have a weakened presidency at the time. Don't forget, that was the time we had late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua at the helm of affairs, and his sickness had taken a toll. And then the Nigerian Governors Forum, spearheaded by Saraki, was now setting the agenda on political matters, on economic matters, and it became very powerful. And of course, you could see what happened when Rotimi Amechi eventually took over. I mean, the election caused lots of challenges later on when Jonah Jang of Plateau State actually came into the fray. So this body was actually founded based on great ideals like it's the Governors Forum in the US, but eventually there have been challenges here and there.
I love that, the Governors Forum in the United States. We'll get to that in a short while. But do you think the NGF has seemed to have functioned a bit more like a pressure group on the federal executive branch rather than frontlining strategic development on a state-by-state basis or on a regional basis?
Yes, you've put it very clearly. The Nigerian Governors Forum has, in the recent years, between 2010 and 2020, if you look at that decade very well, they've been able to successfully spearhead some reforms, some political discourse that have made them to become enemies to a lot of Nigerians. Because when it comes to fuel subsidy, for example, they have a say. When it comes to who becomes a president, they have a say. When it comes to specific economic reforms that will move the country forward, they have a say. When it comes to the constitutional review, they have a say. And the greatest area that a lot of Nigerians were becoming uncomfortable with is when this group of governors were deciding who becomes the president and who doesn't become the president. Don't forget, they gave the former President Goodluck Jonathan a good fight for his money. And that was one of the enmity that actually was created between former Governor Bukola Saraki, who eventually became Senate President, and then former President Goodluck Jonathan, who was incidentally a former governor himself. And he felt that he wasn't getting lots of support. But from that political angle, they became too powerful, and a lot of persons were working to actually whittle down their powers. And I can tell you, it is in the bid to whittle down their powers that a lot of people brought a lot of support to President Muhammadu Buhari that we have in place now, saying that, look, the governors had shot themselves in the leg through the kind of economic reforms that they were agitating and some positions that they were taking that at that time did not seem to help the masses. Now, a lot of people have said that, why don't you use the Nigerian Governors Forum as a vehicle for competitiveness between the subnationals? Why do you use it as a vehicle for only attacking the federal government most times? Well, sometimes they've said that they are trying to embark on what they call the peer review mechanism, but that hasn't worked.
So, but what is the connection between the NGF and the National Economic Council? You have these 36 powerful chief executives. I'm not sure any organization in Nigeria has such powerful CEOs. In other words, you divide Nigeria into 36 and the FCT. Each of them is holding a critical piece of the party called the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And they're sitting on the Council of Economic Council for Nigeria. How important this body is? Put the two together for me.
Okay, now let's start with the National Economic Council. It's a body made up of the Vice President, the 36 states governors of the Federation, and then the Central Bank of Nigeria. The governor of the Central Bank, coincidentally, is usually referred to as the 37th governor of Nigeria. So he plays a critical role there because of the economic policies that will have to come out of that place. They help to advise the president on what to do, help in economic reforms here and there. And I can tell you that most of the decisions that they take, they are always very critical. But at a point in time, it comes as if they are usually more powerful than the vice president who actually chairs that committee, which is constitutional, by the way, and it has a very critical role to play. Now, if you look at the composition of the federation as it stands, the governors are actually the drivers of the political and economic interests of the country because they are very powerful, and any president who tries to disregard them will actually find them waiting for him politically towards the end of either his first term or towards the end of his second term. Like it's happening right now, you can see that the governors are playing the game very well. They've already come out right now with their resolutions last night, and they skillfully ran away from actually agreeing on removal of fuel subsidy, but they discussed it after the Malam Nasir El-Rufai report that was presented to them, but they did not in their resolutions take a decision saying that they had agreed, based on the recommendation of the Nasir El-Rufai committee, that the fuel price should now be between 380 and 408 naira. And if you look at it from that perspective, they are also afraid that there may be a backlash against the government. So they are being subtle, but at the same time trying to produce a statement that the presidency has been put in a very difficult position to obey. Because the thing is that if the presidency doesn't play their ball game, there will be a challenge. Now, these governors are looking for more funds because the federation allocations account has dwindled. And the only way they feel that they can get more funds is if the subsidy is fully removed. But which president will remove the subsidy fully at this point in time when there's economic crisis, when there's political crisis, with a lot of insecurity? I can tell you that the APC leaders in the country are very careful about that because they are afraid of another Occupy Nigeria happening if they eventually go for the full removal of the subsidy. Yeah. But it's something that should have been done at the birth of 2015 when President Muhammadu Buhari had the goodwill and the World Bank advised him to do that. But unfortunately, he's in the midst of the devil and the deep blue sea now, and the governors are just shying away.
Yeah, well, Sumner Sambo, I'll try not to compete with you folks in the political arena. Politics seem always to win over economics and business. I give it to you. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Sumner Sambo, Arise Political Editor.